Welcome back to the channel US Coins History, coin lovers and collectors. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of rare coins with a special focus on a piece of American history that you might find tucked away in your collection or even in your pocket change, the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny. This little coin may look like any other, but believe it or not, it could hold a value far beyond its humble face value of 1 cent. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why this particular penny is worth so much more and how you could potentially cash in on a small fortune. Let's start by taking a moment to appreciate the history behind the Lincoln Wheat Penny. Introduced in 1909 to commemorate Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, the penny quickly became a beloved piece of American currency. The wheat penny, as it's commonly known, features 2 stalks of wheat on the reverse side, making it stand out from other coins in the U.S. minting lineup. This particular design remained in circulation until 1958, after which it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design, which is still in use today. The 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny holds particular significance because it was minted during a time of great change in the United States. The country was enjoying a post-World War II economic boom, and while many Americans were busy with the expansion of the middle class and consumer culture, these little pennies were making their way through everyday transactions. However, this seemingly ordinary penny could be hiding an extraordinary value for those in the know. Now, let's talk about why the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny is worth so much more than just 1 cent. The first thing to consider when evaluating the value of a coin is its condition. Just like with any collectible, how well a coin has been preserved over the years can significantly affect its value. Many of the 1953 Lincoln Wheat pennies that were produced during their time in circulation have been heavily worn, with faded details and signs of age. But here's the good news: coins that have been well preserved, especially those that remain uncirculated, can be incredibly valuable. Uncirculated coins are those that have been preserved in pristine condition, without any signs of wear or damage from being used in daily transactions. These coins can look almost as fresh as the day they were minted, with sharp, clear details and a glossy finish. A 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny that has never been touched by circulation is far rarer than one that has been used, and it is these coins that can command significant value. But wait, there's more. Another factor that can increase the value of the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny is the mint mark. If you've ever looked closely at older pennies, you might have noticed a small letter near the bottom of the reverse side, just below the date. This letter represents the mint where the coin was struck. For the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny, the 2 most common mint marks are the D, for Denver, and the S, for San Francisco. However, the mint mark can make a big difference in value, especially if the coin comes from a specific mint that produced fewer coins that year. Coins that were struck in limited numbers or at particular mints tend to be more desirable to collectors. For example, a 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny with a rare S mint mark is much more valuable than a standard coin with the D mint mark, simply because fewer of these coins were produced. This is an important distinction to make when evaluating the worth of your coin, as it can make the difference between a penny worth face value and one that could bring in thousands of dollars. But let's not stop there. There are also mint errors that can significantly increase the value of your coin. Minting errors happen when something goes wrong during the production process, causing the coin to be struck incorrectly. These errors are rare, and collectors often go crazy for coins with these unique imperfections. For the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny, there are a few specific errors that can make the coin incredibly valuable. One of the most sought-after errors is the double die variety. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin malfunctions, causing the design elements, like the date or the lettering, to be struck twice, resulting in a doubled image. If you happen to have a 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny with a double die error, you could be holding a very valuable coin. Another potential error to look out for is an off-center strike, where the design is misaligned due to the die not striking the coin in the correct position. Coins with off-center strikes are always a hit with collectors because they are unique and rare. In addition to these minting errors, there are also die cracks and die breaks that can add to the uniqueness and value of the coin. These imperfections happen when the die used to strike the coin starts to crack or break, leading to distinct lines or features appearing on the surface of the coin. While these may seem like flaws to the untrained collectors actually value these imperfections because they make the coin stand out and add to its rarity. Now that you understand what makes a 1953 Lincoln wheat penny special, you're probably wondering, how much is it worth? Well, the value of the coin depends largely on its condition, mint mark, and whether it has any mint errors. A standard 1953 Lincoln wheat penny in average condition will likely be worth just its face value, 1 cent. However, coins that are in uncirculated condition or have a rare mint mark can be worth a lot more. But here's the really exciting part: if you happen to have a 1953 Lincoln wheat penny that's in exceptional condition, especially one with a mint error or a rarest mint mark, it could be worth a jaw-dropping $66,000. That's right, $66,000 for a single penny. This is the kind of find that can turn any coin collection into a fortune. So, if you've got a stash of old pennies or just happen to have a 1953 Lincoln wheat penny lying around, it's definitely worth taking a second look. If you think you might have one of these rare and valuable coins, consider getting it professionally graded. A certified coin grader will evaluate your coin's condition, identify any mint errors, and give you a more accurate estimate of its value. And who knows? You could be sitting on a coin worth tens of thousands of dollars without even realizing it. Today, we're diving into a piece of American history that might be sitting right under your nose, in that old jar of change, or perhaps tucked away in your coin collection, the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny. You might think a coin like this is just another piece of pocket change, but trust me, this penny has a story to tell, and it could also be worth far more than you imagine. Stick around to the end of the video, because we're going to reveal just how much this seemingly ordinary coin could be worth in today's market. Let's start by talking a little about the history of the Lincoln wheat penny itself. The Lincoln wheat penny, first introduced in 1909, was the United States' first coin to feature an actual person on it. That person, of course, was President Abraham Lincoln. The design was created to commemorate his 100th birthday, and it has become one of the most beloved coins in U.S. history. The reverse side of the coin features 2 stalks of wheat, which is why it's known as the wheat penny. By the time the 1950s rolled around, the wheat penny had become a common sight in American currency. The year 1950 marks an important period in the history of U.S. coins because it was a time of growth and prosperity. The United States was well into the post-World War II economic boom, and although pennies were circulating everywhere, some of them were about to become incredibly rare and valuable. Now, let's talk about why the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny is so special. A lot of people overlook pennies as not worth much, especially those that come from the 1950s, but this particular year is one that collectors have an eye on, and here's why. The value of the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny depends on a few key factors: its condition, mint mark, and the possibility of mint errors. Condition is one of the most crucial factors when it comes to determining a coin's value. Over the years, many of these pennies have been worn down from years of circulation. When you find a 1950 Lincoln wheat penny that's in excellent, uncirculated condition, that's when things start to get interesting. A coin that has been well preserved, with no scratches, discoloration, or signs of wear, is considered far rarer than one that has been used in daily transactions. These well-preserved coins are highly sought after by collectors, and they can fetch far more than their face value, but there's more to the story. Another important factor is the mint mark. If you've ever looked closely at older pennies, you may have noticed a small letter under the date on the reverse side. This mint mark indicates where the coin was minted. For the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny, the most common mint marks you'll find are the D for Denver and S for San Francisco. But here's where things get really interesting. Some 1950 pennies were minted without a mint mark, which makes them even more special and valuable. These pennies are often considered to be more desirable because fewer of them were produced. In addition to the mint mark, another reason the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny is worth so much more than a regular penny is the potential for mint errors. Mint errors are those unique, often accidental, occurrences that happen during the production of coins. These errors are rare and can dramatically increase the value of the coin. There are a few specific minting errors to look out for when it comes to the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny. One of the most famous errors is the double die error. This happens when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned, causing the image to appear twice, or doubled, on the coin. If you find a 1950 Lincoln wheat penny with a double die error, especially one that involves the date or the lettering, you could be holding a very valuable coin. Another error to keep an eye out for is the off-center strike, where the coin is struck off-center during production, making the design appear misaligned or lopsided. These off-center strikes are often considered highly collectible, and they can fetch impressive prices. Other mint errors that can add value to your 1950 Lincoln wheat penny include die cracks, where the die used to strike the coin develops cracks, leaving a unique pattern on the coin's surface. These types of coins are prized by collectors who are looking for one-of-a-kind pieces to add to their collections. Now, let's talk about how much the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny could actually be worth. A regular 1950 penny, even in good condition, might only be worth a few cents. However, if the coin is in uncirculated condition, you could see its value skyrocket to upwards of a couple of dollars. But it doesn't stop there. If you've got a 1950 Lincoln wheat penny with a rare mint mark or a minting error, that's where things get really exciting. In fact, some 1950 Lincoln wheat pennies have been known to sell for astronomical amounts, especially when they're in excellent condition or feature a rare minting error. And if you happen to have a 1950 penny that's in gem uncirculated condition, it could easily be worth thousands of dollars. But here's the real kicker: if your 1950 Lincoln wheat penny has a rare error or comes from a special mint, it could be worth as much as $69,000. Yes, you heard that right, $69,000. That's the kind of value you could be sitting on if you have one of these rare, well-preserved pennies. Imagine having a simple penny in your possession that could be worth that much money. It's the kind of discovery that could change the trajectory of any coin collection and make you a serious coin collector in the process. The bottom line is that the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny is a coin that has potential, whether it's due to its condition, mint mark, or a rare mint error. If you think you might have a valuable one, it's definitely worth getting it checked out by a professional coin grader. So, before you dismiss that old penny jar, take a moment to dig through and check for any 1950 Lincoln wheat pennies that might have slipped under the radar. They could be more valuable than you think. Today, we have something truly exciting to talk about: the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny. Now, we know what you're thinking. A penny? That's not worth much, right? Well, hold on to your seats, because this penny from the 1940s is far more valuable than you could imagine. If you have one of these in your collection or buried in an old jar of change, you might be holding onto a hidden treasure. Stick around until the end, as we're going to reveal just how much this unassuming little coin could be worth in today's market. Let's start with a quick history lesson. The Lincoln wheat penny was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, and it became a staple in American currency. The design featured a portrait of Lincoln on the obverse and two stalks of wheat on the reverse, which is why it's called the wheat penny. Over the years, this penny became one of the most iconic coins in U.S. history, loved by collectors and regular folks alike. Now, let's zoom in on the 1944 version of this classic coin. During this time, the United States was deeply entrenched in World War II. The country was undergoing massive changes, and the economy was shifting to support the war effort. In fact, the 1940s saw a shortage of certain metals used in coin production, which led to some interesting variations in the materials used for coins. For the Lincoln wheat penny, this meant that in 1943, the U.S. Mint switched from copper to steel for penny production due to wartime resource conservation efforts. But in 1944, they returned to using copper, which makes this coin especially significant in the series. Now, you might be wondering, why is the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny so valuable? It's actually a combination of factors that make this coin stand out from the rest. First, let's talk about the mint mark. If you take a look at the reverse of the coin, near the bottom, you'll find a small letter, either a D or an S, indicating where the coin was minted. Most 1944 pennies were minted in Denver, marked with a D, and San Francisco, marked with an S, but here's where it gets exciting. Some 1944 pennies were minted without a mint mark, making them particularly rare and highly sought after by collectors. The absence of a mint mark is a big deal because it means there were fewer of these coins produced, which, in turn, makes them harder to find. If you have a 1944 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark, you're sitting on a rare and valuable piece of history. The rarer the coin, the higher its potential value, especially if it's in pristine condition. Speaking of condition, that's another important factor in determining the worth of any coin. The 1944 Lincoln wheat penny, like most other coins, came in a variety of conditions, ranging from heavily worn to almost uncirculated. As you can imagine, a coin that's been preserved in near-perfect condition will always be worth more than one that has been circulated for decades and shows signs of wear and tear. So, if you happen to find a 1944 Lincoln wheat penny that looks as though it just came off the minting press, you could be holding a real gem. But wait, there's more. The 1944 Lincoln wheat penny is also famous for its mint errors, and these errors can drive the value of the coin through the roof. Minting errors occur when something goes wrong during the production process, resulting in a unique coin with a flaw. These errors could include things like double die errors, where the design is doubled due to misalignment of the die. Coins with a double die error are especially valuable because they're not only rare but visually striking. If your 1944 Lincoln wheat penny has this kind of flaw, it could significantly increase its worth. Another mint error to keep an eye out for is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not properly aligned during the minting process, causing the design to be struck off-center. These coins are highly collectible, and an off-center strike on a 1944 Lincoln wheat penny could be worth considerably more than a typical penny. Additionally, coins with die cracks or other unique errors can be worth a small fortune as well. So, if you're lucky enough to find a 1944 penny with any of these unique characteristics, you might just have a collector's dream on your hands. So, how much is the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny actually worth? Well, it all depends on the condition, mint mark, and whether there are any errors present. In general, a 1944 penny in good condition might only fetch a few dollars. But if you've got an uncirculated 1944 Lincoln wheat penny or one with a rare minting error, that's where the real money is. For a penny in mint condition with a rare mint error, the price can skyrocket. In fact, some 1944 Lincoln wheat pennies have been sold for astronomical amounts. While most are worth a few dollars, certain versions of the coin have sold for up to $72,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $72,000 for a single 1944 Lincoln wheat penny. That's the kind of hidden treasure you might be holding onto without even knowing it. Imagine finding a penny that could be worth as much as an entire car, or even a house. This is the excitement that comes with coin collecting, finding rare pieces that have the potential to make you a fortune. And it's not just about the money, it's about holding a piece of American history in your hands. The 1944 Lincoln wheat penny symbolizes a time of change in the United States and is a true testament to the enduring legacy of this classic coin. So, what should you do now? If you've got a jar of old pennies or a coin collection, it's worth taking a second look at any 1944 Lincoln wheat pennies you might have. Examine the condition, check for any mint marks or errors, and if you think you might have something special, don't hesitate to get it appraised by a professional. You never know. You might just be sitting on a coin worth $72,000. Today, we're diving deep into the world of rare and valuable coins, and we've got something truly exciting to talk about, the 1917 Lincoln wheat penny. This little coin, minted over a century ago, could be worth far more than you might think. If you have one of these pennies sitting around in your collection, or tucked away in an old jar, then you could be holding onto a hidden treasure. Stick around to find out just how much this 1917 Lincoln wheat penny could be worth in today's market. First, let's take a step back and appreciate the history behind the Lincoln wheat penny. Introduced in 1909, the Lincoln wheat penny was designed to commemorate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. This penny was unique because it was the first U.S. coin to feature the likeness of a real person on it, something that was quite revolutionary at the time. The obverse side shows a portrait of Lincoln, and the reverse features two stalks of wheat, which is why it's commonly referred to as the wheat penny. The Lincoln wheat penny remained in circulation until 1958, making it a staple of American currency for nearly 5 decades. Now, fast forward to 1917. This was a pivotal year in both American and world history. The United States had just entered World War I, and the nation was adjusting to a rapidly changing global landscape. For coin collectors, 1917 was an interesting year for the Lincoln wheat penny for a couple of reasons. It was a time of change in the U.S. economy, and the pennies minted during this period are considered highly collectible for their rarity and historical significance. But here's the big question: why is the 1917 Lincoln wheat penny so valuable, and why is it worth so much more than your average penny? It all comes down to a few key factors: condition, rarity, and specific features of the coin. Let's start with condition. The value of any coin is largely determined by its condition. A penny that's been heavily circulated, scuffed up, or damaged over the years will naturally be worth less than one that's been well preserved. The 1917 Lincoln wheat penny is no exception. The more pristine the coin, the more valuable it becomes. If you have a 1917 Lincoln wheat penny that looks almost as good as the day it was minted, free from scratches, discoloration, or wear, it is highly sought after by collectors. Coins in excellent condition, especially those that have never been circulated, are rare, which makes them incredibly valuable. Next, let's talk about mint marks. If you've ever taken a close look at older pennies, you'll know that many coins feature a small letter on the reverse side near the bottom. This is the mint mark. It tells you where the coin was produced. For the 1917 Lincoln wheat penny, the most common mint marks are D for Denver and S for San Francisco. But here's the catch: there are also pennies from 1917 that were minted without a mint mark at all. These coins, often referred to as no mint mark or Philadelphia mint coins, are much rarer and more valuable. If your 1917 penny has no mint mark, you've got a real treasure on your hands, but the excitement doesn't end there. The 1917 Lincoln wheat penny is also known for some fascinating minting errors. Minting errors occur when there's a mistake during the production process, and these errors can make a coin even more valuable. For example, some 1917 pennies have what's known as a double die error, where the design appears twice on the coin due to a misalignment of the die used to strike the coin. This error is particularly prized by collectors because it gives the coin a unique and eye-catching look. If you happen to find a 1917 penny with this double die error, you could be holding onto a rare and highly valuable piece. Another error to keep an eye out for is the off-center strike. This happens when a coin is struck off-center during production, creating a design that appears misaligned or off-kilter. Off-center strikes are rare and can make a coin look unusual, which is exactly what collectors want. If you have a 1917 Lincoln wheat penny with this kind of error, it could be worth far more than a typical penny. So, what kind of value are we talking about here? Most 1917 Lincoln wheat pennies, even in good condition, aren't worth much more than their face value. However, if the coin is in excellent condition, it could fetch a decent price. But if you happen to have a 1917 penny that's in near-perfect, uncirculated condition or features a rare mint mark or minting error, that's when things get really exciting. In fact, some of these coins have sold for incredible amounts. And it's not just about the condition or the mint mark. Having a rare minting error or owning a piece that's part of a limited print run can add significant value. If you have a particularly well-preserved 1917 Lincoln wheat penny, it could be worth as much as $108,000. Yes, you heard that right, $108,000. Imagine finding a coin worth that much money hiding in an old box of change or tucked away in a dusty coin collection. That's the thrill of coin collecting, finding these hidden gems that could change your financial future with just a simple discovery. Whether it's due to its rarity, condition, or a unique minting error, the 1917 Lincoln wheat penny is a coin that could transform your collection and possibly your life. So, what should you do next? If you have a 1917 Lincoln wheat penny in your collection or in a jar of loose change, it's definitely worth taking a closer look. Inspect the condition, check the mint mark, and keep an eye out for any minting errors. If you think your coin might be special, it's worth getting it appraised by a professional coin grader. You never know, your 1917 Lincoln wheat penny could be worth $108,000. Today, we're about to explore one of the most fascinating pieces of American history, the 1957 Lincoln wheat penny. At first glance, it might look like just another coin from the mid-20th century, but trust me, this small penny might just be hiding a fortune. If you've got a 1957 Lincoln wheat penny in your collection or maybe even in a jar of old coins, you might be sitting on something worth much more than its face value. Stick around, because at the end of this video, we'll reveal exactly how much a rare 1957 Lincoln wheat penny could be worth today. Before we dive into the value and details of this coin, let's take a quick look at the history behind the Lincoln wheat penny. First minted in 1909, the Lincoln wheat penny is one of the most beloved and iconic coins in American history. Designed by the famous sculptor Victor David Brenner, it features the image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, marking it as the first U.S. coin to feature a real person. On the reverse, you'll find 2 stalks of wheat, which is why the coin is often referred to as the wheat penny. The 1950s were a time of great prosperity and growth for the United States. The country was recovering from the turmoil of World War II, and the economy was booming. The Lincoln wheat penny was still in circulation during this period, though it was beginning to see its final years. In 1958, the wheat penny was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial penny, marking the end of an era. That makes the 1957 Lincoln wheat penny a historic piece of American currency, one that has significant sentimental and collector value. Now, you might be wondering, what makes the 1957 Lincoln wheat penny so special? There are several key factors that contribute to its worth. First, we'll start with the condition of the coin. As you probably know, the value of any coin largely depends on its condition. Over time, coins that have been in circulation for years can show signs of wear and tear. The 1957 penny is no exception, and many of these coins have suffered from scratches, discoloration, or other damage. However, a 1957 Lincoln wheat penny in excellent, uncirculated condition is quite rare. Coins that have been carefully preserved without showing any signs of wear or fading are highly sought after by collectors. If you happen to have a 1957 penny in pristine condition, you could be holding on to something worth much more than a few cents. These well-preserved coins are prized in the numismatic world, and their value can increase dramatically over time. Next, let's talk about the mint mark. You might have noticed a small letter on the reverse side of your penny, usually below the date. This mint mark indicates where the coin was produced. For the 1957 Lincoln wheat penny, the most common mint marks are D for Denver and S for San Francisco. These mint marks can have a significant impact on the coin's value. For example, pennies minted in Denver, denoted by the D mint mark, are generally more common than those minted in San Francisco, denoted by the S mint mark. Because of their relative rarity, the 1957 Lincoln wheat pennies with an S mint mark tend to fetch higher prices, but there's an even more exciting factor that can affect the value of the 1957 Lincoln wheat penny: minting errors. Minting errors are mistakes that occur during the production process, and they can make a coin exceptionally rare and valuable. Some of the most valuable errors include double die coins, where the image appears doubled due to a misalignment during the minting process. These errors are often subtle but can be clearly seen in the date, the lettering, or the image of Lincoln. If you have a 1957 Lincoln wheat penny with a double die error, you could have a very rare and valuable coin on your hands. Another error to look out for is the off-center strike. This happens when a coin is struck off-center during production, causing the design to be misaligned. Off-center strikes are much rarer than regular coins and are highly desirable to collectors. If your 1957 penny has an off-center strike, it could be worth significantly more than a standard penny. There are also other errors like die cracks, where the die used to strike the coin develops a crack, leaving an interesting and unique pattern on the surface of the coin. These errors, though minor, can add considerable value to the coin and make it more attractive to collectors looking for something unusual. So, what exactly is the 1957 Lincoln wheat penny worth? A regular 1957 penny in average condition may only be worth a few cents, as it was produced in large quantities. However, when you start looking at coins in excellent condition or those with rare mint marks or minting errors, the value starts to climb. A 1957 Lincoln wheat penny in mint condition could fetch a few dollars, but if it's a rare find, like one with a minting error or from a particular mint, the value could rise even higher. In fact, some 1957 Lincoln wheat pennies have been known to sell for astronomical amounts. And the most exciting part is that if you happen to have a 1957 penny in gem uncirculated condition or with a rare minting error, it could be worth as much as $68,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $68,000 for a single penny. Imagine finding such a rare coin hiding in a jar of change or sitting in a drawer. That's the excitement of coin collecting, the possibility of finding something incredibly valuable when you least expect it. So, before you dismiss that old jar of pennies, take a closer look at your 1957 Lincoln wheat pennies. They could be more valuable than you think. If you've got a 1957 penny and you're wondering if it might be worth something, it's a good idea to have it appraised by a professional coin grader. They can help determine its condition, mint mark, and whether it features any rare minting errors. If your penny checks all the right boxes, you could be sitting on a small fortune. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about rare coins and how to spot valuable pieces, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Stay tuned for more exciting coin discoveries and keep on collecting. Who knows what hidden treasures you might find next.